Hello and welcome to my second video. Thank you very much for watching. Today I'd like to take a look at Home Guard and World War II activities in and around the Staffordshire village of Kinver. For the first location, I've brought you here to the corner of Sandy Lane and Gypsy Lane, where here, conveniently, somebody's actually cleared away the undergrowth. If you look really carefully here, you can just spot concrete base poking out from underneath the soil. This was actually the base to a guard hut. Across here there'd have been a barrier across the road, and further up at the other end of Gypsy Lane there'd have been a barrier across that end of the road too. The reason it was here is because this was a World War II Starfish site operated by RAF personnel. Starfish site was basically a decoy site to distract enemy bombers from their true targets. The Starfish sites were basically a collection of baskets, barrels, troughs and various other receptacles filled with combustible materials, wood, coal, oil, tar, petrol, anything like that. The different fuels were used to simulate different types of fires and different types of lights. And the idea was, as I said, basically it would act as a decoy for a real potential bombing target. What we don't know for certain is exactly where this Starfish site was protecting. It's quite possible that it was one for Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton actually had several Starfish decoy sites around its periphery, shall we say, and was actually a known target for the Germans. The idea of a Starfish site was to locate it at least 4 miles away from the actual target, and about a mile or more than a mile from any other possible habitation, villages, towns, etc. Now, I have heard stories that some bombs were actually dropped on Kinver during the war, although it's said this was largely by accident, shall we say, when a German bomber or bomber crew, in quite a hurry to get home, decided to jettison their bombs, and 7 bombs allegedly landed somewhere at the top of White Hill. I don't know whether there's anything to back that up. I've not found any evidence myself, but you never know. As far as I know, there's no evidence that anybody was hurt or any real damage was done. Also, of course, we weren't the only ones building decoy sites. The Germans were up to the same trick. And again, a story does the rounds that in occupied Holland, the Germans built a considerably substantial mock airfield with wooden hangars, wooden aircraft, wooden trucks and so forth. British intelligence found out about it, and the RAF responded by dropping wooden bombs on it. Whether it's true or not, that's still a matter of debate. One thing that concerns me about this one here in particular is that there is no protection for those people operating the site here, and if you're standing here trying to attract an enemy bomber, I'm not quite sure what you're supposed to have done should one actually have decided to drop its bombs here. At this end of Gypsy Lane there's no real evidence visible anymore. You might have expected to see the concrete base of the other guard post, but sadly that's no longer visible. Whether it's still here, buried under this lot, maybe, I don't know. But because of the nature of these Starfish sites, being just a collection of barrels and troughs and baskets, pipes and so forth, that was all cleared away after the war. We didn't have a control bunker here, so there's nothing left of that. Although I did hear some stories that from many years after the war, when the farmers were ploughing the fields, they used to often turn up oily patches in the soil as they did so. But apart from that, that's all there is to see here. Now, you may remember this structure from the first video. This was the Home Guards observation post on the top of Kinver Edge. I've got some drawings here that were made by the Home Guard that actually show the range to different landmarks from the observation post up here. There are actually two. I'll just show you one. There are actually two. One showing the views out across Kingsford Lane, Sheep Wash Lane and so forth, and the other looking forwards across Kinver. For our next location, I'm actually on top of the old reservoir, or Comber Burial Ground as it is now. In fact, the Home Guard had an observation post here too. In a moment I'll try and show you a map that they produced that shows the range to various landmarks over in that direction. For our purposes, nothing remains here. There's no evidence left now of the Home Guard's post here. I don't know exactly what was here, whether there's anything at all, to be honest, other than just a position as such. Here at the end of Church Hill, private property by the way, so don't go mooching around, this used to be Kinver Jail, but also in the 1930s it was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Postlethwaite. Mr. Postlethwaite was a radio engineer and actually had a small workshop in the garden here, but in World War II it found another role in machining hand grenades. In fact, I have here one Mills number 36 hand grenade, and this is actually one that was machined here on this very location. They were cast in West Bromwich by a firm called W.J. shipped over here to have the machining operation done, and then once that was completed they were sent away from here to have the final components and the explosive added. So there's no need to panic, they weren't actually dangerous when they were here, and neither is the one in my hand by the way. There's nothing in the middle of it, it's completely empty. In the grounds of the sewage pumping station we might just be able to spot this rather unusual looking relic, if you can make it out there. It's actually a concrete post with a stainless steel pin on the top. See if we can get this into focus. You can just about make it out at the side there. I don't think this is in its original location. It may be, but it may have been relocated from somewhere nearby. This is actually a mount for a Spigot mortar. We're now outside what most of us would have remembered as the Kinver restaurant. Currently I don't think it's in use. Just back up a bit so that you can see better. But as you might have gathered from the sign there, back in World War II, this was actually the Home Guard headquarters. Kinver's Home Guard was 39th Battalion N.Jones D Company. Why it was called N.Jones we don't know, because there wasn't actually anybody from N.Jones in the platoon as far as we know. I've got an old photo which I'll put up for you in a second. In this 2002 photograph you can actually see there used to be a much larger plaque here commemorating the Home Guard's presence. I'm not sure of its exact location, but I do believe it is now in safe hands somewhere. We're now at the rear of the White Hart in the High Street, just in the car park, and the reason we're here is because of this. This is actually the remains of an entrance to an air raid shelter. It was designed to accommodate 50 people, and it's one of 3 air raid shelters that I'm aware of in Kinver. Unfortunately, as far as I know, this is the only bit that remains. The rest of it I think is demolished and is now underneath the children's playground there. Also at the rear of the White Hart is this building here. Unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure of its exact purpose. I've got a feeling it was to do with a fire brigade training centre, But I believe John Bills might be able to fill us in with more info on that. I'm now opposite the old police station. This area here is where there used to be another air raid shelter. You can just see the depression in the ground there where it used to be. It was demolished, I believe, sometime probably in the late 1970s, mid 1970s maybe. I do have a still photo which I'll put up in a moment, and you can just about make out some remaining brickwork, but as it is at the moment, there's nothing really left to see here today. Now, the parish council record referred to a third air raid shelter, this one for just 28 people, in modified caves in Mill Lane. I can only assume that this would have been the location for that. Of course, there may be other private air raid shelters around the village, like this one here, in an undisclosed location. I've now brought you to a spot near the junction of the A449 and the A458, and the reason I've got you looking at this piece of ground here is because just in front of us there was another mount for one of these Spigot mortars, or blacker bombards. I've got a photograph I'll show you in a moment that was taken in 2002 where it's still quite clearly visible. Sometime after that I did see a team of men working here, but I believe all they've done is actually filled in the pit and around the mortar mount. So as far as I'm aware, it's actually still here, it's just covered up. I've now brought you to the corner of Kingsford Lane and Compton Road. What we're looking at here, very hard to see now I must admit, this is actually the remains of a Home Guard defence trench dug by the guys themselves. One in particular we know was Private Micklewright. Private Micklewright's recollections included the fact that at the end of the war, when the Home Guard was stood down, they didn't know what to do with all their leftover ammunition. Rumour has it that they dug a hole somewhere behind this post and buried it all. Private Micklewright had no recollections of anybody ever coming to dig it back up again. So who knows, maybe it's still there. If it is, I wouldn't advise going to look for it. It could be highly dangerous. Right, well that's it for today's video. I hope you found it interesting. If you have liked it, please subscribe if you can. It doesn't cost you anything. If you click on the notification bell, it'll let you know when the next video is available. Not sure yet what the subject will be of the next one. It might be, and I only say might be, ghosts and legends. Perhaps, we'll see. But once again, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.